Welcome to episode 233.
You're listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast, where you'll learn the underground, closely guarded secrets that will revolutionize your real estate business. This podcast is all about helping you exit the real estate newbie zone and enter financial freedom, building up your real estate throne. This is Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast. And now your host, real estate investor, entrepreneur, world traveler, and nationwide mentor, Chris Bruce.
All right, how you doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Escaping the REI Newbie Zone. I am your host, Chris Bruce. I want to say thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Now, I have a very special two guests that's going to be coming on. They're my students who recently just closed their first 4 deals, one seller, all right, 4 deals, and made a quick $20,000 from their house. Never saw the property, never met the seller in person or the buyer, and made a quick $20,000. But before I get into that episode and that interview, I want to say thank you for all of the tweets, all of the direct messages of you guys enjoying these podcasts. I want to make sure that, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast. Hit that subscribe button, guys. We're on Stitcher, we're on Google Play, we are on iTunes. You can subscribe to the podcast, so once these come fresh off the press, you will get notified. Also, please, I ask if you can leave us an honest review, all right? By putting these reviews on, this helps push us up in the rankings, so that way more and more people that think that you, like yourself, think that this podcast is valuable, they can get notified. All right. Now, before we get into the interview, all right, a lot of you have been asking me, Chris, how do I do this virtual wholesaling thing? Like, I want to get into virtual wholesaling. I don't understand how this works. Please help me. Tell me, how do I get to it? Well, you're in luck. All right. I hold a special class every couple of days where I share with you the strategies and tips of and the strategic way I go blueprint step by step on how I do this business. All right, you're going to hear from my students that are going to teach you and talk about this process. But if you want to get more a overview map of this, okay, you want to make sure you attend my virtual wholesale class. All right, you can literally go to virtualwholesaleclass.com, sign up, register for it, attend it. Make sure you be on there live, and you're going to see step by step of how I flip houses from my computer. All right, without having to step foot outside my house, how I do this business day in, day out. All right, so go to virtual wholesale class, register for it. All right, and let's go ahead and we're going to get into this interview with my students, Allie and Richard. I'm telling you, you're going to be blown away, guys. They're an amazing couple. Okay, for number one. And, the way that I remember when they joined the program and they hit the ground running, they hired staff, they really put systems in place and did everything I told them plus more. And you're going to hear from them how they closed these 4 properties with one seller and made quick 20 grand. And let's go ahead and get into this interview. Let's wait no further. So let me go ahead and introduce my guests, Richard and Allie. All right, guys, welcome back to another podcast episode / video. Guys, I know some of you are going to be watching this from YouTube. Some of you guys are checking in from us on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you're at tuning in. I got a special guest today. We're going to be talking about their transition into not only just starting a regular wholesaling business, but also a virtual wholesaling business. So let me go ahead and before we get into everything, welcome all my guests, Richard and Allie. How you doing, Richard and Allie? How you doing?
What's up, bro? Good to see you.
God, I'm so glad to. You guys have just surpassed the expectations that I have for you guys. Like, I remember when we first originally talked, and you were telling me that you wanted to venture off in 2 markets. And usually when I talk with somebody, it's like I just wanted to focus on one market. But you guys is like, no, we're going all out. We're going to do 2 markets. And I was like, oh, man, I don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah. Not your typical start, that's for sure.
Not a technical start at all. But I was like, we're going to make it work. So for those that's listening, can you tell me a little bit about you guys' story? Because obviously you have some real estate experience. It's not, you weren't totally new to real estate. So tell me a little bit about what you guys were doing before and the experience that you've had in real estate prior to wholesaling.
Yeah, for sure. So we actually came down to Denver, Colorado, moved here from Oklahoma, and got our real estate license here in Colorado in 2016. So we were not new to the market at all, and really just jumped in as realtors, doing the whole listing thing. And we previously had owned some buy and hold properties in Oklahoma, and it got out here and jumped in the fix and flip market also.
Gotcha.
But just kind of noticed that it was extremely competitive in that market. And we had always been really interested in wholesaling and knowing what we knew and having access to the MLS and being realtors. We thought, why not? Let's venture into some other markets.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where, we got started with that whole virtual wholesaling side of things.
Gotcha. Okay. So far as, were you guys doing, like the whole realtor thing in Denver and Oklahoma, or just in Denver?
Just in Denver.
Yeah.
Just
in Denver.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And my family, so I grew up in a family of real estate.
Perfect.
And my dad had been flipping in Denver for 10 years. He's been flipping since the crash in 2008.
Gotcha.
So I've got a lot of hands-on experience with investment properties, but literally just fix and flip. So
gotcha.
And the wholesaling thing really didn't click for him. Like, we were really trying to pitch it, and we're like, like we can just, buy these properties or get them under contract and then flip the contract. And he said, well, why would you do that? I'm like, because you're missing the point. The point is that on the properties that we find that don't work for us personally, we can give them to somebody that it does fit their criteria. And then it's a win-win because we haven't lost that lead.
Absolutely.
And we've generated something off of it. And he still didn't understand it until we brought him the deal that we eventually closed, and it all came full circle. And he was like, yo, this is brilliant. Like, this is brilliant, But yeah, it took from somebody coming from a background of, he had been doing really high-end flips too, buying properties, and he had done some scrapes, building new townhomes, and had been really successful in all of those projects. So it was really hard for him to understand why we would pass up that eventual, check. But for us, it was, we really wanted stability.
Gotcha.
We wanted something that we felt like we had control of. We had, with flips, it's tough. These flips, and you can make all these projections. You can do all this research. You're always, there's a lot of management involved, a lot of logistics involved.
Right.
You have to have a network. You have to have a strong network.
Yep.
We didn't have that. We came out here and we basically, sort of broke away from the family business, decided to do our own thing. We didn't have any of that. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't something that was easily attainable. Flipping was, the first flip that we got was a struggle. We barely made anything because we didn't have the people built in. We didn't have, it was just a lot of things that happened, and wholesaling was the complete opposite of that for us. We still got to deploy all of those methods that we had learned to find properties, but now had an option. We didn't feel up against the wall about if it didn't work for us, man, it's take it or leave it.
Right.
You walk away, you don't get anything kind of thing. So it just empowered us on so many ways and on so many levels. And really elevated our, just even our business strategies as a whole.
It's funny because most people that are advanced, when it comes to real estate development and high end flips, they like wholesaling. What is that? Most people don't know that. Most people don't know because you're at such a high caliber, in the process of real estate. So that's below their radar. They're like, wholesaling.
You gotta really dumb it down to that simplicity. They're like, oh, okay, so I don't have to jump through 37 hoops.
Right.
You know what I mean? It can be simple. So,
And even your analysis of leads is different. When you're analyzing something as a flip, even though as a wholesaler, you're ultimately analyzing it for your end buyer.
Right.
Will either be, keeping it as a rental or flipping it or whatever. It's a different analysis. There was definitely some adjustments. Yeah. Where it was are we really going in the right direction? Are we doing is the right way? Should we be going? It kind of felt like we were backtracking. but ultimately, yeah, like it wasn't that at all.
So let me ask you both. So going into this new business model of wholesaling, were you guys ever nervous or afraid that it wouldn't work at all?
Every day.
Okay. For her,
we fought every day.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. No, for her, of course, it was every day. For me, I absolutely knew it was going to work just because we've faced so much other adversity in the real estate market here,
right.
with it being one of the most competitive markets, that I was like, okay, I know it's people back home, and I've been watching this guy, Chris, and I think we can kind of, put something together and make it work. And, you got to be the confident one if you're going to, approach something and try it.
It took him, like, between you and him, it never would have happened. It never would have happened had it not been for y'all two, because I was like, man, on the first few, like, deals that just didn't work, I was like, I'm good on this. Yeah. Like, I'm good. Like, my energy is not valuable here. But it took him being like, no, like, we've invested in, like, no, like, we've devoted ourselves to this. Like, we have, like, there's no excuse. Like, we're going to make this work.
It's got to.
But yeah, no, like, I would be lying if I said that I wasn't extremely doubtful.
Got you.
Really, almost until, like, we got to the closing table just a few weeks ago. Like, even then, I was still just like, man, like, I don't know. Like, this is just, God, we've come so far. We've worked so hard for and if this falls apart, yo, I'm losing all. This is all bad.
Right. Like, nah, that's good though, man. Like, that's what is good that you guys, partner together. I tell people, like, when you are starting a business, it's very hard if your partner is not on the same board, right? If you're not on that same trajectory of where you guys want your life and career and stuff to go, because many people that I know, unfortunately, there's a wife that wants to do it and the husband isn't on board, or the husband want to do it. And I'm like, I be telling them, like, listen, I'm going to keep real with you. It's probably not going to work out for you.
Facts.
I'm just gonna say. Because y'all going to argue. It's like, you're going to spend money on something for marketing. She going to be like, what the hell are you doing spending our money that's supposed to be on this?
Man.
There you go. No, that's exactly right, man. It's like, y'all
and we experienced some of that, at the very beginning, because there was some costs there that I was like, I could do a lot of things that I could do with that money, Mm-hmm. But also some of that too is just having faith in your partner and knowing, like, I knew he wasn't going to lead us down a path that he didn't have confidence in.
Right.
And I just had to have that trust that, like, even though it doesn't totally, click for me, and some of that was because I had my family, sort of in my ear, like, man, like, you've really, I don't really understand, like, what's causing the shift. You've always done well. You've always, like, been successful in the projects you've done. And it's like, yeah, but if you can't find those projects, if those projects are no longer attainable, like, either because of the competition, we got outbid on 50 houses the first year that we were down here trying to flip, and it was so demoralizing. We would place these really competitive offers, spend all this time writing these contracts, and then it's like, you get a call and it's like, yo, you're 10th in line. Like, do you want to come with a better offer? And it's like, no, because my numbers were already, my profit was already slim to begin with. If I come any stronger, I'm losing money. Yeah. I'm basically renovating a house for someone else to live in.
Right.
And paying out of my pocket to
it's
do
like
so.
You have a nonprofit rehabbing business.
Literally. Like, that was, I mean, looking at the financials on a few deals that, we were really stoked about, it was like, we had to be really honest with ourselves and be like, look, we have one thing go wrong. It's a wrap.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but it just took patience too.
That's really good. So explaining so I want to talk a little bit about, before we get into the deal, with your family being in your ear, especially you, Allie. So, like, did you, because a lot of times, when that happens, like, I've had family in my ear when I first quit my job in 2010, and, it's like, hey, maybe we need to go get a part-time job or figure something out, right? So, like, how did you kind of, like, almost silence that part of your ear of someone being in your ear? Like, how did you kind of, like, get over that? Because I'm pretty sure there was some rough conversations, and it's family, right? So it's like, it's hard to just.
Yeah. Honestly, I think part of it was learning what I should and shouldn't share. Like
Gotcha.
at first, it was like, being excited about taking a new path. I wanted to involve people in, I wanted to let people know what we were doing and what direction we were going and how we were planning on going about that, because it was so strategic and it took us so much time and energy. And it was like, we were so proud of that, but ultimately, like, it didn't totally translate. And so eventually I just sort of stopped talking about
Gotcha.
it.
Okay.
But then with my dad, like, I just kept telling him, like, you just have to trust us. Like, even when I didn't really have faith in ourselves, it was like, you just gotta trust us. This is gonna work out. We're gonna, because I can see the path. I know how this is gonna pan out, and you just gotta, just give us some time. Give us 6 months. Give us a little, just give us some time to like see if we can make this work. And if we can't make it work, then like we're not stupid. We're not gonna just dig ourselves into a hole. But
exactly.
We're gonna give this like our absolute best shot, because
Gotcha.
that's all we know really to do. And eventually he was receptive to that. And he was like, all right, he could see that we had all these crazy systems in place, and we were spending all day on the phone and just, always working it. And I think that too was like sort of that confidence for him. It was like, well, it's not like they're just expecting all this to fall into place for them. Like, they're really working for it. There's effort going into this. And with anything, you put in the effort, you're going to get out what you put in.
Absolutely.
You're putting a lot in.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about this particular deal. Okay. So how did you guys find, like, walk us through, how did you find the lead? What was the negotiation kind of like, the numbers and stuff? Kind of walk us through this particular deal.
Yes, this particular deal was actually a deal that our VA originally hit on. So we were pulling lists in Oklahoma, absentee owner,
Okay.
high equity, and so the VA connected with this particular seller, and the property that we actually contacted her on, she wasn't interested in selling.
Okay.
But she said, I have several other properties that I'd love to talk to them about. So I called her within like an hour of our VA talking to her and had a long conversation, learned a ton about, her situation and everything she had been through. And there was a lot of weird, like, familial, like, intra-family transfers. And like, it really seemed like a tricky, I really wasn't sure if it was going to work at all. Like, even an offer, because her uncle had passed away, but he had all these back taxes, so there were a lot of elements. And it ended up being 3 months. Like, we originally made contact with her in October, and we didn't even get her to agree or get to the point to where she could agree or accept a formal offer until December.
Okay.
So, and I had to do a lot of hand holding. I had to like do a lot. I spent a lot of time like calling like the tax assessors. Like, okay, can you explain this? Like, can you explain what needs to happen here? What needs to happen here? But ultimately, she had 4 properties.
Okay.
4 properties that she had purchased out of the sheriff's sale, but they were her uncle's. And she lives in California and had never even seen them.
Wow.
And didn't know what the status was, didn't know if there were people in them. So we got people out, we got boots on the ground, had people go over there.
Okay.
We were telling her things she didn't even know. We were sending her pictures like, here's the status of this house. We think you have tenants in this house. Like, we provided a lot of value.
I see. Yeah.
But we knew based on what the numbers, so the numbers really basically worked out to be 12 and a half a property.
Okay.
So 12.5, and we paid. Yeah, and then we ended up finding an end buyer who we made $5,000 a property. So we ended up building our assignment fee for all 4 was $20,000.
Wow. That's nice. Nice.
Yeah, so it ended up being like amazing, but it was really, really tough, and the deal almost fell apart like 10 times. But it was one of those things that once we got through like probably about halfway through the process and sort of saw how we could provide value to these, sellers who had been contacted. She had been contacted by multiple investors, but everyone gave up because the situation just on paper looked really, really complicated.
Okay.
And, most people were like, no, like this isn't going to be easy money,
Mm-hmm.
But we could take the time to work through and to solve and like fix all the problems that were keeping people from doing it. There was a lot more on the out sale for us.
Right.
So we ended up helping her like work through. She had like $4,000 in back tax total, about $1,000 of property. We got her in touch with the tenants, so she was able to like make contact with the tenants, and she was able to actually get rent for 2 of the months that we were like through all of this. So that was kind of cool. She had a falling out with the property management company she had been using, and like hadn't heard anything, we helped her through some utilities things, like just a lot of different ways that we were able to, bring value and just work through the deal, because ultimately it wasn't that tricky, and none of it were things that kept the property from being able to be transferred.
Okay.
They were just things that for the end buyer, it was hard at first for us to find an end buyer, because most people were like, no, we don't want to have to deal with a tax lien, or we don't want to, they didn't want to catch the tax lien up and do, this.
Right.
So originally, actually, like backing up a little bit, when we originally talked to her, we had agreed at $16,000 a property.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the ultimate deal was she subtracted the amount she paid off the back tax, so we took off that amount.
Gotcha.
The amount that would have been paid, or that had to be paid, ended up getting subtracted out of the deal, and then it was taken care of by title. So she walked away with 12 and a half, but ultimately the cash that was funded was enough to cover our assignment fee.
Nice.
And close it.
Gotcha. So let me ask you, this is a crazy deal. A lot of moving parts to it. So did you guys kind of split up roles? Like it was like, Richard, okay, I want you to handle this part. All right, I'm gonna handle this part. Did y'all split those roles up?
Yeah, big time, because she's a better communicator a lot of times.
Okay.
I felt like she needed to take the role of more so negotiating with the other female seller, because women obviously
exactly
level.
Yeah.
And I'm dealing with the guys, boots on ground, checking the house out, doing inspections. We're finding new stuff about the property every day. So it was easy because we had a really, really nice guy back home in Oklahoma who was, basically our eyes and ears down there. And
right.
he was more than we could have asked for. I mean, we didn't sign up as like an acquisitions guy or anything. He was just like, I want help, et cetera, et cetera. So, we built a relationship through this particular transaction. So he'll be somebody we can use going forward. Nice. Yeah, it was definitely a split and roles thing, because had I been communicating with the lady, I'd be like, well, we just going to the next deal.
Exactly.
I'm not getting ready. I want 16.
Right.
No, man, I'm the third. That's just my tactics. That's me. More of an aggressive approach. So yeah, it worked out for sure.
Definitely. Okay. So you got how did you guys find the buyer?
So the buyer actually reached out to us in response to the ad we created on Craigslist. I'm sorry.
Craigslist, okay.
We put up an ad on Craigslist, and we were shooting too high at first. Like we were really hoping there was, a little bit more in it, and we had to do some, negotiations with him. But at the end of the day, like we ended up with this cash buyer who he's buying 100. He has 112 properties already. He's looking to buy 100 more in the next 18 months. And he and I talk almost every day.
Nice.
And I'm feeding him, all of our new stuff. And, he's giving me feedback as to what, he can pay. And that helps me, and that was where this deal had we done it the other way, probably would have been easier, because had we connected with him prior to negotiating with her, we would have come in, our offer would have been different to her up front. Exactly. I had to do some backtracking with her in regards to the tax liens. When I found out that flat out, most of these big cash buyers don't want to, they're that's a problem, that's an issue, it either needs to be handled at the closing. We're not going to be doing that. We're not going to be coming out of our pocket. Here's our number. you need to figure out the rest of that with her.
Right.
That was helpful too, because, you know, had that dialogue happened earlier, I definitely would have adjusted my strategy. But ultimately, yeah, like it turned out that we ended up with this great cash buyer who was like super easy to work with, and who's even willing. One of the models that they have is that they package up, they portfolio up a bunch of properties in a particular zone, and then they sell those off to like a larger investment group.
Okay.
So one of the contracts and one of the deals that we created with him is, you know, we essentially agreed to take less at this first closing, but we have a deal where we get 50% if he is to flip these to this hedge fund in the next 36 months.
Oh, nice.
We'll half of that profit.
Okay.
Which he sells on a cap rate basis. So like on this particular deal, the cap rate based on like the rents and all that, op expenses, when we had them under contract, we had them under at about 42%. By the time they bought them at $75,000, it was about 13%, but they have buyers that are buying at 8%.
Right. It's nice.
So there's so like we could end up getting paid out again by this deal.
That's good. So that's what I want guys, that's anybody listening to this or watching this, is understand that the first thing that they both did is provide value. You know, provide value and build relationships. That's the most important thing you have to do in this business, because it's a people-to-people business, right? You could have easily been like, listen, this too much work. We gonna move on, right? You got to go find the rent stuff on your own. Find out somebody living there. I ain't doing all that, right? But instead, it's like, okay, how can I provide value to the seller for them to get the trust factor in, so that way when it's time to talk numbers and everything else, the seller's on board. You know, and that's what.
Yeah, we totally could have like flipped it for $2,500 probably and just saved ourselves all the trouble. Like we could have just put a really super small assignment fee on it and basically gave it away like someone else who did want it. But we knew there was value in this area. We knew that because these were occupied units, there was someone was gonna bite on them because there was instant cash flow there.
Exactly.
And even at the price they were at, I mean, I think several of them, even just the fair market value through the tax assessor was double what we had them under contract at the higher price for.
Okay.
So we had a lot of like stuff to sort of back up, but at the same time, like there's depreciation. I mean, these weren't great tenants. These were tenants that had trashed the front yards. Like it wasn't ideal, but we knew that there was a number that would work. And this situation, even though we went in thinking, oh my God, we probably make $50,000. Like, you know, this is the first time we looked at it. Right. I remember sending them to you, and you were like, I don't know. You're like, this is kind of tight. And I was like, dang it. I remember saying to Rich, God dang it. I don't know what it's going to take, man, but I swear I'm going to get these numbers right, because it was so frustrating. Like, I looked at it, and I'm like, oh man, we easily have, 50, 75, like. And then, but really, really started, tightening up on our numbers, and then chatting with you, and you were walking us through, but you got to look at these. There were a lot of foreclosures in this area.
Yeah.
And I was driving, just looking at it on paper, looking at the comps. That was tough because, like, you really can't argue with someone who bought a house for $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't really care if it was a foreclosure or not. The bottom line is they bought the property for that amount, and now you want me to pay this?
Yeah.
But, we just had to, and it was some creative marketing too, because we ended up, having to work a deal with her. Like the fourth property she originally told us was occupied, and we had been marketing it as occupied, and then we found out that someone was like squatting in it. They weren't
Oh man. So how'd y'all, did you have to hire somebody to get them out? How'd y'all get the squatter out?
But we had a guy, like the guy who was on the ground was literally like our savior.
Yeah.
And,
I was telling you about, he was bomb.com.
And he found out that it was like the neighbors, like living in both houses.
Oh, wow.
And we had a document drawn up that was like permit to enter. We just pulled it right off the internet, had her sign it so that he looked official. He went over there in like a yellow, like, little vest and like a hard hat and was like, hey, like, we know this property is supposed to be vacant. We know you're not supposed to be here. What's the deal? And the guy was like, oh, like, she told me I could be here. And he's like, no, like, she didn't. Like, we know she didn't. She thought that it was
somebody
else.
Yeah, so
and they were out like the next day.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
They ended up being like pretty easy. I think it totally could have gone another way. But ultimately it was very tricky, but we didn't want to settle for a small assignment fee because we knew there was value there. And we were still, even when we agreed to, in our minds, the smaller assignment fee of $20,000, I still felt like we were leaving so much money on the table. And that's why I proposed to our cash buyer that we be cut in on the out sale of whatever he does, like to, whenever he flips them, if he chooses to flip them.
Okay.
And he was really receptive.
That's good.
And that was what was surprising. Like I was so afraid of bringing that to him. I thought I was going to seem greedy and I was going to seem, and he was like, I think that's probably pretty fair. Like you've done a lot of work here and and yeah, he was awesome. And he knows we're going to bring him because we were already bringing him as we were, working through this deal, other deals.
Okay.
So I think ultimately it was more of a relationship. Like he wanted to nurture that relationship and make sure that he did something to bring values to the relationship as well. Cause we were doing so much to bring value. So
absolutely.
He met us in the middle and that doesn't happen every time. But,
no.
Yeah, right.
But never be afraid to ask.
Listen, you got to open your mouth. Closed mouths don't get fed. So you got to open your mouth. Okay, so for everybody that's listening, guys, Richard and Allie did this deal 100% virtually. Did you guys take a step of foot in this house at all? Any of these 4 houses?
Well, we've never. No. We're 1,900 miles away.
See, and that's what I want people to see. I like doing these is to show people that, listen, it is real that you can do this business virtually. You need somebody on the ground. You need to have your systems in place, right? You need to have a team, infrastructure put into place. But you don't have to physically be there. You don't have to physically walk through the house. You're not renovating the property, so you don't have to know everything about it. You just get somebody else to know that stuff and be your, eyes and your boots on the ground, and you can totally make this business work. So are you guys going to continue on marketing Oklahoma City?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's a great market, and that's where I just so happy to get really lucky. The 2 acquisitions guys who we brought on are basically extremely familiar with that area and basically hometown boys. So, they know where a lot of pockets of the areas are. Okay. And they're really, really sharp, really, really good salesy guys who've had a lot of sales experience in the past. So, I mean, it was like one of those things that it just fell into place.
Nice. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so for anybody that is thinking about, and I tell people, listen, my mentoring program is closed. You watching this right now, it's closed. I don't know when I'm going to open it up because I'm so focused on my own 2 businesses that I'm running. But whenever the hell I decide to open it up, for anybody that's watching this, would you recommend my mentorship program to anyone?
Absolutely. 1,000%, hands down.
Yeah, I know I definitely would because there's a lot of things you can find on YouTube University, but when you need the bread and butter, this is how you do it, A, B, C, direct straight to the point, when you really want to learn the information, I mean, those resources are invaluable. I mean, the 2 courses that I made it through one in 2 days, and I felt like I knew everything I needed to know, and it was just bulletproof. So now I'm like, okay, shit, I just need some leads. I'm ready to go now.
Yeah. Right. You even gave us some of those.
And Sandy was some leads. So absolutely. Yeah, we recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, and I think for me it was being able to be in touch and just have that feel like we're not totally going into this blindly, and especially on the offers front, because you can do that little the ARV calculate, but you have to learn how to pull comps, and that was something it was so valuable when you got involved, and even as an investor, just fix and flip. I always thought I knew how to work comps, really, but with this, it was extremely, extremely important because for those quicker, for an assignment, I mean, you have to you have to be locked in to get someone to take over the contract, not buy it once you got it and fluffed it up and that.
Right.
It needs to be solid raw in this raw state, and that's a totally different way. And yeah, like had it not been for you, like we wouldn't. God only knows.
Well, I appreciate you guys' kind words. So anybody that wants to, because you guys have several businesses. You know, I know you guys are not just real estate wholesalers. So if anybody wants to connect with you for any real estate, well, matter of fact, tell everybody, what other businesses do you guys have? The people that's watching this can.
So we have a couple other things going on. One is Vibe Media Management. We've actually started managing some artists that, you know, we feel are going to be extremely successful, and we're going to take our management capabilities and you know, put them full steam to work with those guys. And then, of course, with my background in physical fitness, I still do part-time some private fitness training for professional athletes also. So we were extremely busy throughout the whole process.
Right.
It was like, okay, this can be done. And that was the whole point of taking it virtual. It was like, okay, I need to have something I can work virtually and still be hands-on on my other things. And, you know, with you showing us those systems, it was streamlined.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And so if anybody has some deals in Oklahoma City, if you got some deals in Colorado and Denver, you want to reach out to Richard and Allie. Can you guys, I'll make sure I put it somewhere on this video. What's the best way, you want to Instagram or email or whatever to reach out to you?
Yeah, just reach out to us on Instagram.
Okay.
We're more than happy to talk to people more too about like getting this deal from A to Z, because it is complicated.
Right. Because you didn't even go into everything. Like we probably could have.
Yeah, like could
have talked for a whole nother hour.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's so true. But I think the biggest thing is, like just don't ever be scared away from like a deal, even if it looks scary. Just like know that like there can be a larger payday in it for you, and ultimately that's the key to freedom. Like
absolutely
working these deals for $500, $1,000, I mean $2,000, like that's great, but even those deals take work. No deal is just totally like, you know, free of any effort.
Right.
And in this case, it was really, really valuable to spend that extra time, that extra effort, to see the larger payday.
Definitely. Well, I'm proud of you guys. I want to say congratulations to both of you. This is just the first one of many, right? And, you know, a lot of people, they only flip one home the very first time. You guys flip 4. So this is really just the beginning. You're going to have so much more deals. I already know you guys are going to be so much more successful. So I just want to say thank you, because some people, you know, I give them the opportunity to share with them these things, and I never take it for granted people like you guys that actually take it and run with it. Because, you know, some people, you give them an opportunity and they don't do anything, and it's like, well, what did you invest in this for?
Invest in your money. You got all the tools in the world.
Yeah. Even just the courses, like even though your mentoring program is closed, your courses, like we had spent so much time on YouTube. We're part of so many Facebook pages that are really active, and you know, we had tried to rock with a couple other mentors before we discovered you, and were met with like just nothing, you know. So yeah, I mean, I would say even just taking like just going through your courses, for anyone who's starting out and just is lost and unsure, and like that's a great way to start, because even before we started asking you questions, we went through the courses.
Yeah, we knew a lot.
And we knew a lot. And that kept me particularly from even having to lean on you. Like I know, like I didn't even talk.
Yeah, for real.
Are you there?
That's true. That's very true.
I would have like all these little boxer things. Like you done missed 26 messages.
Right,
I'm like, I'm over here. I'm chilling. I'm good. I'm over here working my leaves. I'm on the phone. I'm rocking. Hey, if I got a question, I'm gonna refer right to the course. I'm gonna go right into even forms. Even, you know, there were a couple times when we were lazy and out and about, and he would hit you up like, hey, yo, you have this, you have that, and you would send it right over. But 9 times out of 10, like it was so like the mentorship was amazing, and it was great to know it was there. It was a confidence that was really important for me. But had we not had it, I'm confident we would still be here having this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm confident that with just the courses, just with that mentor, just with the, non-personal mentorship, through that, like, we could have gotten to this point.
Right. Absolutely. All right, so guys, once again, I appreciate if anybody that's tuned into this, I'm going to make sure I include their social media links so you can reach out to them, add them as a friend, or follow them on the gram. And once again, I appreciate you guys, and I wish you much more success.
Thank you so much, bro. We appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast at www.escapethenewbiezone.com.